And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Got Podcast, episode 5. This is your host, Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Today we wanted to talk about having a job while you're rapping or pursuing a music career and the importance of it.
Yes, but before that, we just wanted to mention something that we had left out from our previous episode 4.
So we were talking about making money and not charging people for features. What we did leave out is that most distribution platforms have splits set up. And I say most because you should check your distribution platforms. Some don't, which is ridiculous in 2021. But basically what splits are is you agree to a percentage with the other artist on the track and they receive that percentage of the stream revenue. And why this is important is because you could both make money off the record that you're putting out and you don't have to charge anything.
Yep, you could just go 50-50 down the middle. That's probably the best bet. You can even also do this with producers as well. Obrigado was one of those producers that had basically gave me 2 beats and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give you 50% of whatever streaming revenue is out there. So you can also use that as leverage to work with producers as well if they up for it.
I actually think it works the best with producers.
Yeah, I actually do, yeah.
Because, all right, here's the thing. Especially if you're someone like Bailz who promotes your records and does all the advertisement and shit. Like, if I give you $20 for a lease, it might not equate to the amount of money that I'll get you if we split the record 50-50. So it's a good selling point to get free beats, but also just to like have an agreement in place with the producer to where they can make money that's beyond a leasing price.
And you look like a good businessman doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you're offering me something for free, but you know what? I still want to give you something. I don't want you to just leave you high and dry. Like, it ain't just exposure. It's like, yo, if this song blow, you about to get hit with off of 50%.
And also on the flip side, if you're someone who doesn't agree to splits, it makes you look like an asshole.
Yep.
You know, this is like plain and simple at this point. Like if we do a record together, I don't even ask the artist that I'm doing a record with if they want to do splits. I just 100% go and do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, why should they not get a part of this record that they're on and didn't charge me anything for?
And another thing, like when you hear us say certain things, it may come off strange. It may come off weird. Like, yo, what are they talking about? Doesn't make any sense. That's because usually you're so stuck in one mindset of doing things. And usually the way you do things don't really bring results all the time. So it may seem like some of the things that we're saying are strange, but that's because you haven't changed your mindset of how you're looking at the new rap game. Like that's one of our biggest things when it comes to this podcast is changing your mind for the new music business. Like everybody's really going towards this independent route. And a lot of people are still thinking like they're trying to get signed to a label.
Right. And at the end of the day, like what we're trying to do is beyond just change your mindset. It's also just give you a different perspective. And I feel like the people that have backlash towards something that we're saying, it's more or less because their perspective hasn't changed yet. And yeah, when you're all right, let me give a little quick story. I had managed an artist. We might have talked about this, but I managed an artist in 2017. We dropped an album for him. He went by King Ra. And at the time, I was telling him, bro, look, we're not going to put it on SoundCloud. And he's like, why, bro? All my homies keep on asking for it on SoundCloud, this and that. And I said, because the homies that are asking for it on SoundCloud wouldn't care if Drake dropped some shit on Spotify. They'd find a way to listen to it. Now, if they're not going to listen to your tape because it's not on SoundCloud, then you don't need them because they're not going to listen anyway.
Facts.
And although it was like a ridiculous idea at the time in 2017 where everyone was dropping on SoundCloud still, if you fast forward to 2021, SoundCloud's almost non-existent.
Dead.
Like no one's dropping their project on SoundCloud. And if you are, you're behind the times.
And if they are dropping it on SoundCloud, they're also still uploading it to all the streaming platforms on top of that. Like they're just not leaving SoundCloud to be, that's it.
Right. So if an idea comes off like it's bizarre or it comes off like, oh, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, just do a little bit of research or try to be ahead of the curve and just understand that like there's people that are like constantly researching this shit. And there's reasons behind why we're saying shit. This isn't just like off the dome and
that we have better than you.
Yeah, and we have no idea behind it or whatever. Like we're telling you stuff that is because we research a lot, you know?
And besides just researching, putting the fucking work in on top of that, making it like turning it actually practicing what we're talking about.
Well,
It's not-
researching is putting the work in, and
that's also
that's
true.
one thing that a lot of artists don't do. Like, yo, when I tell artists, yo, you should do some research or background on the game, I'm not necessarily talking about going back to '92 and listening to A Tribe Called Quest. Like, that's not what I mean. Like that's cool, and you should know like what came before you, and you could even find like flow ideas in the music that came before you. But I'm more or less talking about like you should really look into the business side of things and understand where you're going, and like become self-sufficient and not have to rely on people to do everything for you.
Yeah, at this point, you're not just an artist. Like, we don't want to look at you as an artist. So we look at you as like a brand, a label within itself. So you just have to have that own, like you have to feel that within yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to actually dig deep and find that within yourself. And like, yo, I'm not waiting for nobody to do anything. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to get it done.
I posted some shit on Instagram yesterday where I said that everyone's reaching out to get a label deal, which is a loan, and they could just start an LLC and go and take out a small business loan. It's literally the same thing.
Yep.
And I said, like, if people did that, I don't think that they'd make the poor money decisions that people that sign a label deal do. And I want people who watch this podcast or listen to this podcast to really understand what I'm saying there. Like, if you were to get a whole sum of money that's dictated to business, you wouldn't just fuck it off the way that like people fuck off money that's from a label, or they think of like
that rapper shit.
You want to know the difference between like, all right, cool. I think people view a record label deal like they view someone signing to the Yankees.
Yeah.
And
like
it's two completely
money.
different things.
Yeah.
Like if you sign to the Yankees, you play baseball, you get paid. If you sign to a record label, you put out an album, it doesn't make money, and then you have to owe that money back. There's a complete difference. Like, there's people who signed to, like, I'm a Mets fan. There's people who signed to the Mets. This guy, Jed Lowry, and he was injured the entire time and made like $20 million.
Still got paid.
He got paid $20 million. He didn't have to fucking give the money back to the Mets. Like, that's just the difference between music and sports. Like, there's no similarity. You're not signing a deal for $1 million and it's $1 million guaranteed that you get in your pocket and you could do whatever you want with it.
That's $1 million loan.
Yeah, it's $1 million loan that you're getting a budget for all of your expenses now as a business. And if you choose to go and buy a chain or a car or whatever, just think about the business side of things and if that's the best bet. Now, okay, maybe that's the best for marketing. Yeah, I have a Lamborghini. When I drive down the block, a bunch of people wonder who I am. I could tell them who I am, and now they pick up my music. Cool, maybe. You know what I mean?
But that's
like,
a long shot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not,
Lambo.
though. Exactly. Like, maybe if you got like a really cool like Mustang, like that would also do the trick. But all right, so to get back into the original topic of what we started this episode with, having a job while you're an artist and the importance of it.
I feel like it kind of ties in with kind of what we were just talking about before, like having that personal responsibility as an artist, because you have to fund your career. You know, when you're coming up, you have to fund your career, and you're not going to fund your career just by keep going into the studio, dropping tracks, and just hoping.
Wait, what do you mean fund your career, dude? I could like download YouTube beats and like rap on GarageBand with like a headphone mic. Like, why the fuck could I fund my career?
But is that the proper way to do things? 'Cause number one, if you're doing that, you're already ripping off somebody else just so you could benefit. So that's already bad business right off the jump. On top of that, a lot of people have this perception, like when they see rappers, and a lot of rappers have come out and said it, like, yo, I ain't have no job. I was in the trenches. I was doing this, that, and the third back then. Now a lot of these rappers are coming out saying, yo, I still got my 9-to-5 job, and I don't care if I got 1 million views on YouTube. This is what's funding my career. This is what's keeping the bills paid, because music doesn't pay off like that so quickly. Everybody looks at it as like, yo, the money's going to come instantly. I'm going to get like 100 M's in a bank. Nah, it does not work like that. And you have to have something that's going to keep you stable, because if you don't have no, you know what I'm saying, you don't got nowhere to live, you don't got nowhere to eat, you don't got nowhere to like really record, how are you going to be an artist? By just posting pictures and looking fashionable? And, you know, y'all got a project coming up.
How do you afford the fashion?
I don't know.
I think a lot of artists are skating by on their parents' dime, and that doesn't get talked about enough. So there's a lot of artists who don't have to get a job, and they could be rapper guy the whole time, and mom or dad is going to throw money at whatever they're doing, make sure that they're fed and safe. You know what I mean? And then on top, I always used to say, like, being a drug dealer, the reason why there's so many drug dealers turned rapper is because being a drug dealer is probably the most flexible job in the world.
Yeah, you get
when
a lot
it comes
of free time,
yeah,
technically.
Yeah, like you're sitting at home the whole time. If you can't record like a fucking 16, and buy like recording equipment, then like maybe you're not like moving enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a great job to have. Obviously, I'm saying this like, don't go and be a drug dealer if you're a kid. I'm just
to be a
saying
rapper,
like, if you are a drug dealer, it's a great job to have. Just like for me, doing like an Instacart for side cash is a great job to have, because if someone hits me up and goes, yo, I want to book a session, I could turn that shit off and come directly to the studio. Where like if I had a fucking 9 to 5 and someone hits me up and goes, yo, I want to pay you $50 an hour, I can't turn my job off.
Yeah. And like for me personally, you know, my job, well, I'm about to start going back to work. I had off for like 6 months, you know, furlough me or whatever the case may be. But my job is the reason I was able to fund my career and put the money behind the advertisement, put the money behind the mixing, put the money behind buying video equipment, putting money behind the
recording
equipment.
You're leaving out the main part.
Video editing software.
Yeah.
Everything that you can think of and encompass as an artist, I was able to pay for with my 9 to 5 job.
Right.
I wouldn't have any of that if I didn't have my 9 to 5 job. I would have just been trying to figure out, yo, how can I record this for free? How can I record this for free? At this point, I don't need nobody else to do anything besides mix it. That's what I need Dig for, because my mixing is horrible. But besides that, I could pretty much do everything on my own. And it's funded through having a job.
When I was 12 years old, I thought about owning a record label. And that was a consistent thought throughout my life. I wanted to be a rapper, but I also wanted to own a record label. That was my thing, right? When I turned 23, I got a job that paid like $65,000 a year.
Big banks.
And LLC through LegalZoom, I think is like $500 to $700. And I was finally able to take that jump and get an LLC. And by the way, I'm not LLC Twitter that just tells everyone to get an LLC. Like this has to be something that you're passionate about and something that you like actually have a plan with. So I knew a bunch of young artists. I knew people who I thought had potential and I could start something with. And I finally was able to afford the route to open a record label. While I'm opening a record label, I'm still working a job. Like, it's not like I opened the record label and I said, yo, fuck a job. Like, I still needed money to pump through the record label. And it's a really good idea to get an LLC, because a lot of the stuff that you're paying for as an artist, you could write off. And people don't know that. But, like, you're owed money back for the gear that you purchase being a musician. Now, here's another reason why it's a good idea to have a job and get an LLC. The amount you make at your job, right? You get taxed based on the amount that you make at your job. Now, if you have an LLC and say you purchase 10 grand worth of equipment, say I was making 65K, right? And I just purchased 10 grand worth of equipment. They taxed me on 65K, but really they should have taxed me on 55K, because a lot of my money went into the business itself. So now what does the IRS do? They give you back money based on the fact that they mistaxed. They taxed you wrong. So having a job and also starting your own business on the side is a good idea, because they kind of play into each other.
Yeah, because like you got to think of it like this as well. Like from what I had mentioned before in the beginning of the podcast, you're not just an artist. You don't have to just be an artist anymore. You can be your own CEO. You can be your own manager. Eventually, when you start getting bigger and bigger and you start growing, you're gonna need a team. Eventually, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna need like an actual team around me. But for right now, to get the groundwork and just to build everything up from the bottom, you can do a lot of these things on your own. You just have to, research it and then apply the information that's right there in front of you.
You said something about building a team, and that I want to like touch on. If you have 2 or 3 songs to your name and you have no following and you have no plays, you don't need a manager.
Nope.
Like, I know that this is like a hard concept for a lot of young artists. Like, everyone thinks like, yo, I'm not official until I get a manager. I
gotta have a manager.
So in order to have a manager, they need to be able to manage something. And if you don't have music out and you don't have anything, like, what are they doing?
They can't manage 2 songs.
Like, if you're talking about, oh, well, they book me shows, you could book you shows
on your own.
Like, it's really fucking easy. You just hit up a promoter and you ask to be on the bill. And there's a bunch of shows everywhere.
And sometimes if you good enough, they'll hit you up. I just got hit up not too long ago. Like, yo, you want to do a show? I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. No manager needed.
You'll get offered shows, but there's also just means. There's a company in New York called My Afton, And I used to book through them all the time. And all they expect is for you to sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get an allotted amount of time based on the amount of tickets you sell. So if you sell like 5 tickets, I think they give you like a 15-minute slot.
Yeah.
If you sell 20 tickets, they give you a 30-minute slot, and so on and so forth. So there's means for everyone to actually like be a sustainable artist without having a management team, especially if it's your homie. Like if you're gonna get a manager and it's like a business student at a business school and they're trying to prove something, that's a good term. Like get someone who's trying to prove something.
Yeah.
Like get someone who's like doing their due diligence to like become this, not just your homie who you're like, well, I want him to get paid too.
Yeah, it has to be somebody that has to have like some type of inspiration, because if not, it's never going to work well.
They also have to have an idea about what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like inspiration only goes so far. That's why you see all these guys like, I don't know if it was chance, but like one of the big artists, they hired their homie to be their manager, and then at some point they had to drop them. This happens all the time, so it's not just like a chance thing. But like artists will get their homie to be their manager. They'll get to a certain height, and then they have to fire their homie because they realize their homie doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. And they
that
just
creates a whole like weird tension.
Yeah, it creates like a rift because now their homie's like, yo, I was there from the beginning. It's like, yeah, I know, but you don't know business.
And you can't bring me to that next level. So it's like, you can't really be my manager.
Yeah, like there's people that have done this their whole lives, and that's what their job is.
Mm-hmm.
So you hire one of those people. You don't hire someone just because they're your friend. A good job for your friend, personal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
They probably won't take that job because they have egos. Yeah. But that's a good job. If you're trying to put your homie on, like, yo, if I blew up and I wanted Bailz by my side and I could throw him a certain amount of money per year to just help me out. Yo, I'm gonna be doing this today. Can you just like run and grab this equipment from there and bring it through? All right, cool.
I'm gonna take it.
Now that's a good job. Like the idea of being a personal assistant seems like yo, I'm not nobody's bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if you drop your ego a little bit and you understand like this is the only way that you could get any money from this situation, it's not that bad.
And you're probably in the same rooms that this other person is in too. Like if you're in a certain room, that means I'm in a room, or you coming out that room and giving me the information. So boom, I can apply that for myself.
And it's not like other artists don't have their homie be their personal assistant. So it's not like you're going to be walking into a room as a personal assistant and be like, everyone's looking down on me.
Yeah.
They all do this. You know what I mean? Like everyone has this.
It's all within the mentality, which is once again, what we trying to hit home with, don't think, full circle going back, like don't think that you shouldn't have to have a job, or even if you're like a younger artist and a younger aspiring artist and you're just saying to yourself, yo, once I hit this certain age or whatever, I'm gonna blow up, I'm gonna do that, this, that, and the third. I'm pretty sure you've done it. Like, yo, I'm gonna be like 20, I'm gonna be signed to a deal. I've done it. I'm still doing it in my head technically, but at the same time, it has to be some type of realization that I can't just be in the studio all day with no money. I have to be able to fund this. Like I have to.
I had a line, I said, I made a promise I'll be rich by 25. I guess I lied.
Yeah. Me too.
We all think that this is going to happen way sooner than it does. And when it doesn't happen, you get super discouraged and you think that like you're a failure. And it's just the reality of the matter is that like, this isn't an easy job. Like yo, I made jokes on my other podcast about how when I was 18, I said, yo, fuck basketball. I'm not going to make it to the league. I might as well try to be a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how ironic that statement is. When basketball, like the league and being a rapper have the same odds.
And I think,
and I don't even know. Basketball might have better odds.
I was about to say, I think trying to be like a rapper. Nah, I don't think. I think the basketball you have better odds making in the NBA probably.
But that's how confused I was as an 18-year-old. I was like, yo, fuck basketball. I'll never make it to the NBA. Let me just be a rapper. I'll be famous.
We all were, bro. I was supposed to be signed to Young Money. I was supposed to be signed to MMG. Who else was that coming up? I was supposed to be signed to a lot of labels. I was supposed to be signed to Dreamville, and they just recently started like resurfacing again. But yet, I'm not signed to anybody.
Right. We all, that's ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once you downplay, like once you take out the ego from everything that you're doing, you start to like understand that like in the grand scheme of things, you're a very small part. Everyone thinks that they're a lead role in the movie, and not everyone can be the lead role.
You can even think about it universally. Like when you think about, let's take rapping out the equation. Let's just talk about like you as a physical being, like a one human person. Like in your body, yes, and in your city, you may seem like you're something, but there's a whole world out there. There's even past the world, there's a whole like galaxy out there. I know I'm getting like further out, but it's just like in reality, that ego has to be brought down. And you have to start realizing you can only work with so much of what you got or what's presented to you at the time.
And especially with that small township mentality where like you might be the man in like your hometown, but outside of there, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
That'll fuck up your head. You know, like you really might think that like because you're known and popular in your town, this happened to me. I was popular in my town. Everyone knew who I was. I was an athlete, you know what I mean? Captain of the basketball team, shit like that. So I'm thinking that I'm the shit. You step foot in another town, they don't even know who you are. You know, and that happens with rappers. Like you might be the best rapper in your small town, and then you step foot outside and not a single soul has heard about you.
Yeah, I ain't get that love. Nobody knew who I was. But now I'm starting to hit that point where it's like you're gonna have to realize who I am. So it's, you know, everybody has different walks of life or different parts in their artistry. Like you said, you were kind of more famous or more popular, I would say.
Definitely not famous.
I would use the word popular.
Yeah, popular.
Like more popular within your town, but then you go to the next town over. There's probably the same dude that's kind of like you that's popular or just a little bit more.
Right,
you know
and that
saying?
dude who raps in that town might think that they're the best rapper of all time because their homies all tell them that they're dope, right?
And once again, there's nothing wrong with, you know, feeling yourself and being confident in what you do, but at the same time, expectations is where I think a lot of us get lost. Like the expectations of what is supposed to be expected from other people and what's supposed to be expected to come out of certain things just because it's us. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, where it goes wrong is when you're kind of delusional and you think that because you're popular in your town, that means that you're popular in the world.
Yeah.
And people lose sight of like what's real. You know what I mean? So like people, and then there's that competitive aspect of it where like, yo, there can't be two of us because I'm the man in this town. Like no one gives a fuck about you. You know what I mean? Going back to our original point about getting a job while you're building a rap career. When my artist that I had signed, when Ra signed to Mellow Wave, one of the first things, he didn't have a job. One of the first things that I recommended was, yo, you need to get a job because that's the only way to sustain a career in this.
Yes.
And he went and he got 2 jobs and now he's able to afford leasing beats. I produced like half of his album. I'm not a producer, but I produced like half his album because he didn't have the money for
at the time,
production. And I'm like, yo, if I'm signing you, I have to give you something.
Yeah, of course.
So I produced beats for him and I, you know, did half his project, but I made it known like, yo, you need a job. There were other kids that I tried signing where I was like, you know, I'm talking to them and their mindset is like, I don't need a job and be a rapper. I don't need to go to school because I'm be a rapper. And I'd be like, trust me, go to school. Trust me, get a job. These are things that are necessities.
And if you don't, like, even if you don't get like go to school or college or whatever, I went to college. I got a degree in psychology. But if you want to go be a carpenter or learn to trade electrician, I'm pretty sure they make more money than me, and I got a 4-year degree.
Fact, bro. There's people that build. There's people that fix elevators that are probably making bank because no one thought about that shit. No one aspires to be that. But if you got into that job and you were able to like really like move up the ranks in that job, you might be richer than everyone.
And I think within that, like what you said about how Rob like went out and got 2 jobs, I think within that you can see like there's a discrepancy. Like there's people that think that rapping is just all fun, being in the studio, laughing, being with your homies, smoking, drinking, being with the bitches, whatever the case may be. But there's a whole other side of that where you have to actually work to really fund the career. Like you have to really put that extra work in. Yeah, you can work a 9 to 5, you could be tired, but that's why you should be waking up probably like 5 o'clock in the morning, whether it be writing a verse, probably trying to get some more money. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, even as regular people, once again, let's take rappers out, even as regular people, we don't put enough work in. We just think everything's supposed to be given to us. Maybe it's an American thing. Maybe it's just a universal thing because, you know, we personally feel like things should be given to us. But you got to work for it. You got to wake up early in the morning. I'm about to go back to work starting next Monday. And now I'm already trying to restructure what time I'm supposed to be waking up. What are some different things I could be doing to like make sure my music stays in place, that I can stick on a track with my schedule. I have to think about these things now because now the real world is coming back to me. But at the same time, I'm about to get more money, which means more advertisement. So it's like it's putting even more of a fuel on my back. So hard work, it has to definitely, you know, you got to sit there and really structure the things. It's not all fun and games. It's not really all fun and games. You could love the craft, but once again, this is a business. You know what I'm saying? You're a business at this point. If you want to be.
I think that what plays in my head constantly is knowing that there were way doper artists than me that never went anywhere.
Yeah, they got shelved.
they never went anywhere. They might not have even gotten to the point of getting shelved. They
Oh,
just
they
never went
literally
anywhere.
never went,
They
yeah.
like they literally like gave up on their career at 35 or 30, and they went and became a janitor or some shit.
Yeah, then they get a job after.
And they're the dope. They might have been the dopest of all time had they just stuck to their guns and figured out like a way to do this. But like they're a way doper artist than you and me who never made it. You know what I mean? And they lived their life on after that with knowing that they were as good as they were and never went anywhere. That type of shit plays in my head because it gives me more energy to be like, you have to work your ass off, bro.
Because I don't want that to be me.
Right. I've never gotten anything in my life by not working hard. You know, like at the time that I opened the studio, like I didn't have the funds to open the studio. Like I knew that it was going to be a struggle, and I knew it was going to be a hustle. And when you're sitting there broke as shit and you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? You got to just like think about like everybody has gotten to the point of giving up.
Yeah.
And the people that gave up are the ones that aren't successful.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
I quit rap like 8 times technically.
Right.
But this 9th time, I guess I came back a whole different person. Like it's something where I guess you could say, I don't know if it's just like passion or it's just something that I always wanted. Like you said, when you were younger, like you always wanted like to get the record label and you did it. And it's like, for me, it's the same thing. I always wanted to make music. I always felt like I had it in me. And I always felt like I was able to touch people with the music. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it just has to be within you. You just can't, like, you can't really quit on your dreams. And that's one of the biggest things. You know, they say when you get older, that the worst part about it is that all your dreams that you had when you were younger, you can't even fulfill them, or you choose to like give up on them. I don't want to be that guy.
Well,
I don't want to look back.
that's why I could be broke and still happy with the results of what I'm doing, because it's like, even if nothing I ever do takes off, at least I gave it my best effort.
That shot.
Like there's people who never went that route and just gave up immediately because it didn't work out in the first couple months. Like I remember listening to a Joe Budden podcast, and he was like, yo, creators, that first couple years is rough as fuck. But the light at the end of the tunnel is super bright.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean? And you got to understand, if you're in that struggle period of like 2 to 3 years, there's a bunch of people just like you that are going to give up and they're not going to make it. And you just have to outlast them.
Yep.
It's a fight, bro. It's a fucking boxing match. You know what I mean? Like,
whoever got the best stamina.
Right. If you can make it to the end and you can endure all the hits, like you'll be fine. But there's a lot of people that can't endure those hits. They fall down and they don't get back up. And fucking, you know, if you really want to be successful in anything, you have to be able to get back up. You know, that's why Tyson Fury, when Deontay Wilder knocked Tyson Fury down and he was down for the fucking count and he popped up like The Undertaker, like shit like that, you know, bringing that to like a real life perspective on it, like it inspires me, even though that's a physical thing and it's real, like it's happening. But like,
and his
like
heart, his mind,
the metaphor of it like inspires me, because it's like, you can't give up. You know what I mean? You can never give up with shit that you actually like are passionate about and that you want to do, because that shit trickles into everything, and that's going to trickle into your kids, and that's going to trickle into that's going to set up a generation and generations of failures. And not always. I don't want to be so like morbid. Yeah, like, but I'm just saying, like, if that's the example you set, that like, yo, I had a dream. Like, I hate when people tell me, yo, my dad was going to be a basketball player. What does he do now? Oh, you know, like it didn't work out, so he started like he got like a business job or some shit. Like he's working in an office. Like that example set for your kid is that, yeah, it didn't work, so fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he should have been trying to play overseas, you know.
Yo, if you want the shit, you're going to get it.
You're going to try to get that
shit. Yeah,
like
no if you want it, you're going to get it. That's plain and simple. And I hope that people listen to this and they don't get discouraged. I hope it actually like puts a fucking fire under your ass, because I don't think half the people are working as hard as they think they are. Nah. You know what I mean? And I think everyone thinks they're busting their ass, but real shit, bro. Like I could look at a bunch of artists and see people who aren't putting out records. I could look at a bunch of artists and see people who aren't promoting. I could look at a bunch of artists and see people who aren't going out and doing shows or whatever. Like, and for you to turn around and be like, yo, I put in work. It's like, no, you don't, bro. And the quicker that you look yourself in the eyes and tell yourself, I don't put in work, the faster you get to putting in work.
Shit, sometimes I feel like I don't put enough work in, and I already got like 4 tracks out for this year.
Well, that's the problem with us Virgos, bro. Like we both, like, yo, I'm on my second studio space, have a record label, fucking do this, do that, and I feel every day I wake up and I'm like, I didn't do shit, man.
I feel like it's always feel like I could have done more, But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to pressure myself too much. Like I said already, or right off rip, I got 4 tracks in already. How many artists that you probably know already released 4 tracks, or they're working on their album still, which they probably wasn't listening to the
right? They're 10 tracks. You know what I mean? They're working on their 10 tracks. Me and you are already fucking
shipping
couple
them
tracks
out.
deep.
Yeah, shipping them out already. Early 2021. You know what I'm saying? So it just. Yeah, I feel like I'm not working hard enough, but when I look, what you said before, the post that's in here somewhere?
Work when they don't.
Yeah, work when they don't. Apparently, we're working when they don't.
You know, that's going to be a constant thing with whatever passion you have. Like, you know, everyone always talks about how Kobe would be in the gym at 2 a.m. shooting shots. Mm-hmm. And they would be like, yo, when you going home? And he's like, I just got here type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have that killer mentality with shit. And I know not everyone has that within them, but like in order to be great, you have to have that.
And you have to find it within yourself.
And I think the camera went off.
Yes, it did.
So you guys know what that means.
We're out of here.
That means we're out of here. Rappers Guide Podcast, episode 5. We are signing out. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.